All right. Hey, everybody. I see Sienna, Jess, and Brandy are in with us. We're going to give a few more minutes for people to join the webinar here, but we appreciate you joining. I will also throw a hello into the chat here. Hey, Marla, Ella. Glad to see everyone joining here. Give us just a few more minutes. Well, Arlen, while we're waiting, did you guys have okay weather this weekend? I know up here in North Carolina it was really rainy.
Man, it was pouring earlier this week, but man, it's Florida, Destin, so it may rain and then it's clear, then it rains. But
Yeah,
if I was paying 20,000 bucks a week for a house out here, I'd be a little bit irritated with all this rain.
yeah.
But there's cool things to do out here, whether it's the trampoline park, the water park, Causeway Coffee, where I'm filming this at. There's uh, amazing things to do out here.
Awesome. So you're able to kind of send people the right way. I'm sure you guys have some blog content on the site about rainy day activities. That feels like a mainstay for.
Yeah, I think every manager can attest to this that when it's raining, people are cooped up inside. And then if there's a family dynamic going on, some stress, the management company, it gets taken out in the management company. I
Yeah.
had a situation one time, it's like 10 o'clock at night, I get a text message, and they said, "We don't like the fact that there is no closet on the first floor for
Mm,
their luggage. There's no bedroom on the first floor." So I told the team the fact somebody took it upon themselves to send that at 10:25 at night tells me there was a conflict going on inside the house,
yeah.
that someone was complaining.
Somebody was unhappy about the closet. Maybe
Yeah.
not everybody though. Yeah. Well, we will go ahead and get started here. Hi everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. If you don't know me, my name is Britt Vincent Greer. I'm the director of growth here at RealTech, and I'm joined here today by Arlen Busenitz from Destin Dreamers. He's going to share some of his time today to kind of give testimony to his experience and what he's learned over the years. RealTech. If you've worked with us for very long, you know that we see a lot of value in connecting our clients, connecting our community, finding solidarity, finding insights, finding takeaways. And so, this webinar series is all about trying to do that at scale and give everyone the opportunity to interact with each other and learn. If you have any feedback throughout this, if you haven't attended one of these before, please do email me. Let me know what you'd like to see with these. This webinar series is about the client base. It's about being beneficial to y'all. So if you're not getting anything out of it or you have other questions, please do send them my way so we can make this better and better. Along the way, I'm going to be doing some Q&A with Arlen, learn more about him. But if you have questions for Arlen, go ahead and pop those into the chat, and we will circle back at the end and get any of those answers we may have missed. But also, if it's easy to get in the conversation right there, we will do so. I'm going to have Amber, who's helping us out, add a couple links into the chat for some businesses Arlen works with, and also contact information for both of us. Without further ado, I am going to kick us over to our questions and answers. Arlen, tell us a bit about your background. How'd you get into the vacation rental business?
I started vacation rentals 3 months after I was at a NASA rocket launch. Let's talk about how
Wow.
we got there. So I grew up on a farm
Yeah.
in Kansas. This was a true farm. Hogs, cattle, get up early, eat oatmeal, go outside, take care of the cattle, go to school, come back. So I had that work ethic put inside me. My
Absolutely.
dad's philosophy was if you serve oatmeal, you can feed a family cheap and it builds character. So I grew up on oatmeal and I have it about once a year and wish I hadn't tried it. So from there, I paid for college by selling rocks that I dug out of my dad's farm fields, landscape rocks
Wow.
at a farmer's market. And during those 2 summers, I learned an incredibly important lesson, which is the foundation for all business. And it's this:
What's that?
you build relationships and you deliver value.
Yep.
So in the
That's
vacation
solid.
rental world, every email, every text message, every contact we have should be building that relationship with that guest, with that owner, with that teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes to delivering value. Value is something that people want or need. I was delivering lawn protection. I was delivering increasing property values through selling rocks. So if we are building relationships and delivering value, we will be successful in business. So I did that. And then I pastored a church in Kansas. It was bivocational, meaning I was basically full-time there, paid part-time, taught in the community colleges. Ended on a good note, came out in 2019 to Florida to work for a defense contractor. And during that time, I was out on a NASA recovery mission. And then basically got laid off from that job. Yeah. And one day I was at a coffee shop just a couple days before I got laid off. And I had this superpower, this habit I have. And that is I will start random conversations with strangers in coffee shops. And I started this conversation with a random stranger. He was friends with the owners of Destin Dreamers. So I started when we had 8 properties as a contractor and just worked my way up till now we're sitting around 55 properties, anywhere from, we have a couple condos and mostly it's 5 to 12 bedrooms and a team helping us out.
You're about to say how many people on the team, correct? How many do y'all have now?
Yeah, we have, it's hard because you have full-time, you have part-time, you have subcontractors, etc. But we have about 7 core people, then we're backed up with some VAs, some part-timers.
And how long have you been with Destin Dreamers, Arlen?
Since 2019.
2019? So, I mean, that's a good amount of growth and a good amount of impact in that time.
Definitely. And since then, we've kept running into problems. So it's business is solving problems. So we had a really big laundry issue. We launched Elevated Laundry Services to do our laundry and then also about 8 other companies in the area.
Yeah.
Then we needed a building. So we bought a building and the top story of it was an old cigar factory where you'd come and smoke cigars with a 1/2 inch of nicotine on the walls.
How are those sheets smelling?
So what we did is we took and threw a lot of chemicals, a lot of prayer at it, got rid of the smoke smell and turned it into coffee shop, Causeway Coffee. And
awesome.
It's just a first-rate coffee shop here in Miramar Beach. I'm actually sitting in the conference room of that. And it's partly, I started here by a random conversation with people. And I get to meet so many people. We had a famous actor in a couple days ago that I talked to. There's another actor who's in town who will probably swing by. So you never know what celebrity you'll see here.
It sounds like an interesting day to day. So, being with the company now, 6 or 7 years there, it seems like you've obviously had a lot of growth with Destin Dreamers. I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way. Is there any key thing you'd go back and tell Arlen on his first day of work at Destin Dreamers?
Yes. 4 things. And I want to drop these 4 throughout the entire podcast. Okay. So when those who stay till the end will get the 4th, which is incredibly powerful. And these are some things I've really been thinking about recently. Because what I've been finding is in my own life is you have capable, good people who are underperforming. Meaning to the world, to everyone, they may look like they're all together successful, but in reality, they and we are underperforming what we could be.
Yeah.
And there's a simple reason for that. Kind of comes down to 2 things. Number 1 is scattered effort. Think of it where if you have a garden hose or a garden spigot, faucet on your house, if you have one hose connected to it, you got full pressure.
Yeah, you got
If
100%.
you have 15 connected to it, there's hardly anything happening. So what happens as entrepreneurs, what happens with our teammates is you're trying to push this forward a little bit, then you push this forward a little bit, and you sign up for this software, kind of get it going, and then you jump to something else, and there's all this scattered effort. And that's one thing that's keeping people back. The second one, which is very much related, is there is something in every area of our lives, business, personal, if you want to break down, it could be marketing, it could be cleaning, it could be maintenance, but there's something we are avoiding. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's making a hard decision. Maybe it's a 3-hour project, but there's something we're avoiding, and we're doing everything else except the thing that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Once we start doing that thing, the magic is on the other side of it.
You got to eat your frog, right?
Yeah. Brian Tracy said that.
Yep.
So kind of the first thing I would tell myself, key number one, is get focused and do the thing you're avoiding.
That's solid advice. Things that I'm inconsistent with sticking to, but when I do, you certainly feel the results, right?
So to toss this at you, Brett, what's something that you're avoiding right now?
What's something that I'm avoiding?
Yeah.
You know, it's a small thing, but it's been on my desk. It's like physically on my desk, and it has been for months, which is redoing a flyer that we need to take to conferences. There just keeps being a more important thing. And so just this morning, which is what made it so topical there, is just this morning I looked at that and I was like, eventually you're going to have to do that flyer, you know?
But it's interesting because there's these sometimes only 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour. But what we forget is it's like it's leaching from us. It's like it's almost like a running toilet. We push this off again, the back of the mind. We know we should be doing this. It's just draining our energy.
Yeah.
It's draining
just lingers behind you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so you brought up something earlier about the business that I think is one of the best questions we ask on this, which is how do you talked about the value being one of the number one things for an entrepreneur. And obviously with hospitality, value is going to be in guest experience. How do you define a great guest experience at Destin Dreamers? What's y'all's point of emphasis there?
So a good framework is this: you figure out what the ideal looks like, and then you go, what's practical? So the ideal customer experience would be, we know exactly who's coming in. We know what they love, what they hate, and we customize every bedroom for this. We customize the gift. You customize everything. Like if you know that they love horses, you would have a little, maybe like a puzzle of horses. I mean, that's the ideal thing, because customer service, especially when you're dealing with wealthy clientele like us, they love the uniqueness and the customized. So if you could customize everything and be unique, that would be amazing. Well, that's impractical to do all that. So we go to what's practical.
Yeah.
And that is, how do you make each person feel special?
Tell me about how y'all are going about that.
And so there's different ways. One is every email should feel like you're relational to the person. The phone calls should feel the same way. There's customizing the emails to who's coming in. You can, when you see I get emails every time somebody books, and you can see who that is. Sometimes they like the company website, so you can do a little research there just to customize that experience. But essentially it comes down to this: good customer experience starts with the basics. You have a clean house, you have a working house, and you have a house that meets their expectations. Now, this last one is critical, because good business is as simple as you set the expectations and you meet the expectations. See, if you just try and meet their expectations, you will always lose, because everyone has different expectations. If you set the expectations, now you know the standard you need to hit. So the photos should accurately reflect the house. The listing should accurately reflect the house. People expect a clean house. They expect a working house. So you set those and then you meet those or maybe slightly exceed them. I believe it's bad business to exceed expectations.
You're focused on establishing what the right level of expectation to meet is so that you can do it across the board and always deliver on that. And tucked into that guest experience is consistency and reliability. Is that your take there, or am I missing that?
That is, but let me explain that last statement. So this is what's commonly been taught, right? Go the extra mile, exceed expectations. I think we should a little bit. But here's what I mean by bad business is someone will say, this is what we're going to deliver. And then they deliver this. Okay, that's cool, right? The guest is happy. The expectations were succeeded. But here's why this is bad business. You missed out on everyone who would have gone with you if they knew you delivered up here.
Gotcha. So
So set the
meet
expectations.
excellent expectations, but then meet them
Yeah.
and sell that you meet them.
Slightly exceed them. That's great business. Jesus taught that. Go the extra mile. But none of this set the expectations low and then hit here. That is bad business.
No, that's a great take. Do you have any specific examples for how Destin Dreamers has kind of set the expectation really high, and then on the marketing side and really the branding side, how you're capitalizing on those high expectations for service?
Yeah, a couple of ways. One is since we own our own laundry facility, we can lean into the fact that we have luxury linens, that every sheet is iron, so people are sleeping on an iron sheet, which definitely feels different. The challenge is when it comes to cleaning is when you focus too much on leading that these houses are extremely clean, etc., then people start to focus on it. And if you are really nitpicky, you can always find something wrong with the cleaning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need to mention that, hey, this is a clean house. Yes, all these linens are swapped out. But if you focus too much, then people start nitpicking. And that's a little challenge there.
Gotcha. So even a little addition by subtraction in terms of marketing. Focus on the things you do really well. Focus on the things that are going to set you apart. Set clear expectations for the things that you do well, but you're not trying to make that the tip of your spear. You're trying to make the tip of your spear what sets you apart.
Absolutely. And then it's a big thing that guests can get in on time. And I think everyone deals with that a little bit, but I would say that probably only once out of 500 reservations is someone a little bit delayed because sometimes you have a cleaning issue, etc. But that's set the expectation so they know they can get in at that time. But then there's little strategies too where we have big homes, 3 levels, 10, 12 bedrooms. Some of them is letting them know that there is a washer and dryer and then there's backups throughout the house. So not just saying, hey, this house comes with 2 washers or 2 ice makers. Say, hey, it comes with a washer and then it also has a backup. And this is important because appliances go out. It's an easier story to say, the one went out, but the backup is still there. Versus there's 2, man, we were expecting 2, but just that subtle shift there that you have a main and you have a backup.
That is a nice rebrand. It's a good way to kind of shift that. So I mean these things all certainly make a great experience and good insights there on that. Let's kind of move the conversation now over to the impact of that great guest experience. You're up to 55 properties. This year has been a unique one for most people. Really the last half of the decade it has been pretty unique for most people. Let's talk about your average booking window this year. How has that been recently, and how has that departed from maybe what you've seen in the past?
That takes a nuanced answer because when you have homes that are 9, 10, 11, 12 bedrooms, the clientele booking that are often going to book in advance.
Yep.
So you always have the three waves of people. You have the wave of people that want to book 9 months or 12 months out in advance. Then you kind of have a wave that try and book, January, February to book out the summer. And then you have the wave that's going to wait till the last 30, 60 days to book. Because what happened here in this area is up till a couple of years ago, if you didn't book your home by mid-April, you didn't get a home.
Right.
Now, you could wait till June 1 and there might be still 35 bedrooms available. So that's changing that. But overall, we're seeing that the consumer is moving more towards last minute. And this is where pricing is incredibly important, because if you know the booking window is, let's say, end of January for a certain type of house, it's kind of pointless to cut prices in November.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, you have to know that you got to be competitive with pricing, because let's say into March, they're not going to be booking that type of house unless you really give it away. The vacation rental industry needs to do what the airlines do, because the airlines, everyone knows the longer you wait with buying a ticket, the more it goes up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, now the consumers know that you can get a lot of last minute discounts. So what we've done is we do not give coupons in our newsletter for last minute discounts. We only give early bird discounts, because if you start in your newsletter say, hey, book this next 60 days and get an extra 10% off, you're training them wait longer because they'll get a bigger discount. Instead, in the newsletter, say early bird discounts, or you could say, hey, this house here has a couple more bookings, then give a reason why. Or this house has a couple openings, and then give a reason why that is. Maybe it's a new house. Even being blunt, look, you know what? We had overpriced this house, so we're
dropping the rate.
Yeah, even that, I don't want to contradict what I just said, but the idea is train the consumer. You give early bird discounts. Now, behind the scenes, you could be dropping prices for Airbnb and Vrbo, but let's not train the consumers about these last minute discounts, last minute coupons.
Yeah, this is a topic that I could talk about all day, from my time as a client manager, which is, certainly in my rearview mirror. But the work that you got to do for a property management company because of this issue with training people to wait to the last minute, the impact that has on occupancy, the impact that has on rates across the board, and then how we compare to our markets. There's so much value in being really intentional about the way that you roll out promotions, the way that you time those promotions, and try to create less supply that's available as you get closer, because that actually tilts things back in your favor. I think that's a great suggestion for people out there. So then,
and this is something you brought up, is if someone is using an outside email service, and there's quite a few good ones in our industry, and I know RealTech does it too, is lean into their expertise. Because if you're just paying a company to send an email out once a month, you can easily put that together with AI and your own team. What you really want is the expertise they have on when the booking windows are, when to send it. And those are the conversations to be having with your email company, because that's what makes it pay off.
I personally couldn't agree more with you, Arlen. I think that's a great suggestion. Another thing I'll just tack on, just for anyone who's doing it yourself, working with us, wherever, segmentation makes a big impact here, because you understand what people's booking habits are. You can target them really intentionally, along with, doing it informed by your intended booking windows. So a lot of good that can be done on the email marketing side.
And let's lean into that segmentation right there. What's your top 3 tips for segmentation? And
oh, man,
kind of define it for the listeners too.
Yeah, totally. My number one, I think it's such an easy one. If you do any amount of data upkeep and enrichment on your contact list, which can be really easy if you have the right systems in place, just excluding anyone who has an upcoming reservation when you advertise date ranges. That's one of my very favorite ones. If you're sending out an email and saying we have last minute availability on these 2 months, pull out anybody who has reservations in the next 2 months. If we talk about the importance of guest experience, we talk about the importance of personalization and feeling known. You just dropped $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a vacation with somebody. and then they don't demonstrate to you that they know that you booked that with them. That's not necessarily the best experience. That's one I always go for. I think, one easy thing is to do, you mentioned properties that have a lot of availability, where they don't typically. That's one I really like to do as something called a parallel campaign. So you send two audiences. You isolate people who have stayed in a property before and don't have an existing reservation. And that email is all about, hey, come back to your favorite vacation at the beach, or you had a great trip at Sea Star last year. I noticed you still haven't booked yet. You can do those. And then on the other side, you can go to your broader audience and you can say, one of our most popular homes in our portfolio is available for a few weeks in September. Here's where you can see the rates for that. Go in and look at the property here, put lots of call to actions. A third one example I like to use is drive-to markets for shoulder seasons. And as a parent, we have a school schedule. We're kind of tied to being in town. That's a big part of why shoulder season bookings are lower than peak season bookings across markets. But if we're in a drivable distance to the beach, which we're not, but if we were, and you send us an email saying, hey, we're lowering our minimum from 4 to 3 nights to offer long weekends for the upcoming spring break. I'm probably going to go book a little spring break getaway. You tap into the people who are near you, that you have an understanding of what their needs are, and you're able to fill some dates that may not be as high demand typically. Any of
That's
those
good.
seem sound?
Yeah, that definitely. And something we make sure that if someone's already booked, we are not sending any emails with a discount to that. So
Yep,
otherwise, what happens,
absolutely.
they book March 1 and then March 10, they get an email saying, hey, if you book for the fall, you get 10% off. You know that person's emailing in, hey, I just booked last week. Can you apply the discount?
Yep. Yep. That's another really, really good one, an important one. Okay, so obviously a lot of good knowledge here in terms of like how to drive bookings and how to provide a great experience. Let's talk about how that's impacted, your booking spread. You mentioned you do list on OTAs, you do Airbnb, Vrbo, any other OTAs that you're on?
Those are the main ones. There's a smattering of others, but
Those are
what's
kind of the primary
interesting,
drivers.
yeah, what's interesting, you go to these conferences, and every year it seems like there's a new company out there that says, "Hey, join up. We're going to take down Airbnb," and then next year they're not there. Um, but the main ones are those two. The benefits of being on 10, 20, 30, 40 others, which a lot of software is you can just hit a button, turn that on, or a channel manager.
Hmm.
That's more to make the owners feel good. And
Yeah.
and you can say that you're on those 20, 30 channels, but look, almost all bookings are going to come from your two or three OTAs, Airbnb, Vrbo, some booking.com, and then obviously a main website.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so that last bit being the most important part to me. Obviously, RealTech's all about driving more direct bookings. What's your direct booking ratio account for overall, and how has that maybe shifted over time?
Yeah, it keeps shifting higher and higher. And
Great.
the I would have said, it used to be probably a third Vrbo, third Airbnb, third direct. This was, a couple years ago. Then Vrbo just kind of seemed to drop back down, but Vrbo's kind of changed. They've got their act together a bit, so that's improved. We definitely keep going up in our direct bookings, so we're definitely much higher than those thirds. And I think when it comes to websites, and RealTech was our, I think, third provider that we went with, is there's really only two things that matter with a website. One is that it gets bookings. And
I would agree with that.
two is that when an owner looks at it, hey, this looks like a legit company. Here's the thing. If a website was black and white with terrible sounding music and increased bookings, I would choose that kind of website. Because the point is, you want bookings. People get all caught up on it needs to be this real fancy, needs to have all these animations, all this kind of stuff. Look, it's to get bookings. And most
Yeah.
people, and I'm sure you got the stats, was that 80% are using the mobile.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. 80% are using the mobile. Make sure the website is optimized for mobile. And RealTech does a really good job with that. Because look, I wouldn't put much emphasis on having a website that looks amazing on a 32-inch monitor. Hardly anyone is ever looking at that on a 32-inch monitor. And all these fancy things that people do, it slows the websites down, which hurt search engine optimization. And I like your
Ding,
product that
ding.
we just switched to, your direct bookings or your
Yeah.
direct connection.
Yeah. You switch
Um,
from custom over to direct.
and what I like about that is now we get those monthly updates. As there's all these changes happening, you are updating your direct site. So we're getting those instant updates happening. Love that.
Hmm.
Sure, I am a little disappointed I don't have as much customization. But if you go
Yep.
back to it, all I care about is them getting booked and the site looking good to owners. And we got both of those with the direct connection.
Yep. That's the big trade-off. You nailed it on the head. There's custom sites and there's direct sites, and each is a fit for a lot of people for different reasons. But I think putting your money where your mouth is in terms of do what drives bookings, do what makes a great presentation and evokes trust for owners and potential guests, and leave fancy stuff if it's not necessary to your business to the side. It does reap some benefits like those automatic updates. So I'm glad that's working out well for you.
Can I make two contrarian statements that most people disagree with?
I'm certainly not going to stand here and tell you no.
Number one, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Number one is as chat, GPT, and Claude, and people are using that more and more for search. There's a big movement right now to move away from SEO, search engine optimization, and I am doubling down on SEO. I think those who focus even more on search engine optimization are going to dominate in the future. Most people disagree
Yes
with
and
me, but
no.
the experts agree with me. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, yes and no. I would say it's not quite that black and white,
Mm-hmm.
but generally speaking, what I will say is that a continued emphasis on SEO and the principles of SEO position you for AEO, GEO, AI SEO, however people like to classify it, for a lot of success there. It's really about taking what you're already doing with SEO, continuing to be consistent with that, and maybe revamping or rejigging some of the approach, some things as simple as the formatting, some things as simple as the schema markup on the backside. But it is all ultimately rooted in a lot of the same principles as SEO. The one stat that I think is really, really relevant here, well, there's a lot, but one that is my favorite one right now for people to know. There was a study by Ahrefs over the last couple of years, and in 2025, 76% of the cited listings in the Google AI overview, 75% of them came from the first 10 results, that first page of Google search results. Shifting to 2026, only 38% of those cited references in the AI overview actually come from the top 10, which means two things. It means that if you are doing good GEO work and you're pursuing AI digestible and extractable information that's going to get put into those responses, you have an opportunity. Those citations are kind of the new number one result. But on the same token, to your point, if you have great SEO and your competitor lays off of it in pursuit of AI, if they scroll past that AI overview, you have a much higher probability of being at the top of that page because you're continuing to invest in the place where it's showing up.
I
The
love you. Go ahead.
No, no, yeah, I was gonna say that the one thing here to keep in mind, and I think it's important for everyone, especially marketing experts, to have in mind, is that we can comfortably assume that Google will change what that interface looks like over time. They just made a pretty big announcement last week, certainly pointing us that direction. So the most important thing from a search visibility standpoint is going to be keeping an eye on it and not overcommitting to a strategy, taking what we learn, taking what we can prove works, and continuing to invest in the right places.
Yeah, I like the nuance there, and this is the core critical thing. Is the basic principle is this: Google wants to look good to the people who are searching. In other words,
Yeah.
when people click and they go through and they have a good experience on the website, it answers a question, it's easy to read.
Mhm.
That is the core principle that's always true. So
Absolutely.
Google, they used to look at keywords on the page. They do a little bit now, but now then they were looking more at links coming back, and now they look more at the whole framework. But it's as
All
long
in it.
as we make Google look good by giving that guest a good experience, that searcher, then we're going to rank high.
Yep. Yep. That's it all in a nutshell, really. Google sells a product. It's accurate results. If you give them accurate results in the format that they want to find what an accurate result is, you're going to be successful. So then let's keep going because I've got so many questions I want to ask you, and I want to make sure we got time for some of the most important ones. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. Real quick, talk to me about your marketing mix. I know with us, you do Send My Stay, which is your kind of funnel abandonment. You do booking recovery, which is your checkout abandonment, and then you also do paid search. Are there any marketing services that you're running either through your own team or through another provider that's part of your greater mix? Sounds like you're doing some email, certainly.
Yeah. Short answer is we do quite a bit. And I love to test things. I love to be unique. And I'll tell you something a billionaire taught me. He said creativity is overrated. Just copy
That's
what's
interesting.
working. Find out what's working, copy it. And, there is that principle, you kind of zigzag. If everyone's doing this, you do something different. That's true. But just like, don't reinvent the wheel. What's working? So look in your market, who's ranking high, figure out what they're doing, and do it. It's
There's a
there's
good chance you'll find success doing that,
yeah.
certainly.
And
There's
I think,
there's only so many ways to drive more revenue and more bookings.
yeah, and you go back to the basic principles. Once you understand the basic principles, Elon Musk taught this first principle method is, then from there, strategies, they change, they adapt, all that kind of stuff. So what's the principle? Is what is your speed to lead time? So when someone calls, somebody messages, how fast do you respond? Last month, I was averaging 5.5 minutes, and that's without AI.
Pretty good.
So when someone messaged on Airbnb asking, had a team member responding back within 5.5 minutes. Okay, that right there is a proven thing. So second is the more people see you, there's different studies, like people have to see you 7 times. Some people say it's up to 30 or 40 times, whatever. But the point is, how do you do that? So it's retargeting. If someone visits your website, they should start seeing ads pop up on their social media feed that's that retargeting campaign. You have the emails. Okay, someone abandons the cart. And there's, strategies. What we're doing shifts every couple months depending on what's working. I believe you let the data tell you what's working. Great. You could feel that this is good, or you could feel this, but what's the data say? Now, I think there's a huge, huge advantage to what's called the Harvard hunch, where in your gut, you have a feeling that this is the way things should be. You're not sure why. And that's called the Harvard hunch because it incorporates everything you've learned, all your experiences, your training, your reading into that feeling, that hunch. So there is a place to listen to that, but ultimately, let
Those
the
are
data
educated guesses.
decide.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the data side. I was watching a interview with a really great researcher this morning, and he was kind of, for everyone in the back of the audience, kind of a tangent he went on about great researchers. And he said, great researchers are not setting out the hypothesis looking to prove it. They have a hypothesis and they go out there and they spend their energy trying to disprove it. And once they decide they can no longer pursue disproving it because they haven't been able to do it, then they see that hypothesis as fact or as a beacon of truth.
Yeah, and the challenge is that people believe that correlation equals causation. So what I mean is, let's say you go on Airbnb and you swap 2 photos, and then you get 2 bookings the next 24 hours. Did your swapping the photos cause that to happen?
Right.
We don't know. There could be like
right.
17 different things that happen. So that's what's hard to always see, which caused this.
Yeah, and then you start employing confirmation bias and changing pictures left and right.
Oh yeah,
which doesn't necessarily do it. It may do it though. It's all about attribution and which you can set up to try to identify something. That would be a trickier one.
I talked to a property manager, and they have a photo of the bathroom as their headliner, hero photo.
And
said why? Because they get more bookings.
It works for them. I mean, that's a fascinating one. I think that's one that, if we look at like general perception is a no-no. But if they're doing it and it's working for them and they've seen increased results by making that one change, that's, you, everything is testable out there because
Oh
you got the
yeah.
data and you can support it with the data. You set me up for a question I always like to ask people a second ago, so I want to go ahead and jump over to it, which is, you know, what is something that you are seeing other property managers do right now that Destin Dreamers doesn't, but you're interested in either learning more about or experimenting with?
With that question is one, it's highly important we know our own business. We also know what our competition is doing.
Yeah.
And often when you see competition, you see the results because what's publicly available? The number of properties on the website and calendars and pricing. Those
Mhm.
those three things, those are out there. So I think in this market, we're in a very competitive market. These are professionals that you're dealing with. This is the NFL of vacation rental markets. And there's people waking up this morning thinking about how can they take my clients. I'm waking up thinking how can I take other people's clients. I mean, it's a very professional market. So what's always going through the mind is what are they doing? How are people growing their companies? How are they getting more bookings? And as I peruse that, you can kind of sort through what it is, what could be, what's not. And then when you go to these vacation rental conferences, there's I think a person should go because there's great conversations. The flip side is understand that people that figure out what's really working, they don't say what it is.
Right.
They're gonna talk a lot. Now there's an exception. I don't drink much, but I'll have my decaf coffee down at the bar at these vacation rental conferences. And usually when people get a few drinks in them, the secrets start coming out.
Absolutely. My secrets come out at the bar at conferences for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, fair answer there. And so kind of moving over in terms of, what you employ, what you don't employ. I'm sure you've tried a lot of different things. What is, in your opinion, an underrated tool or a platform or a strategy, if you feel comfortable answering that, that you're using now that you didn't in the past and you feel like it's had a big impact for you? And if
I
you want to
think,
keep your secrets, we can hold it for the conference bar.
yeah. Um, I go back to the basic principles. And the basic principle is two things. Cream rises to the top.
Mhm.
So that
Good like
saying
that.
comes from farming. I used to milk a cow. You take the milk and you'd strain it out, but over time, as milk sits, the cream rises to the top because it's lighter, it's richer.
Mhm.
The idea is that in business, the cream always rises to the top. So it doesn't matter if you have 7,000 houses competing or more, its cream always rises to the top. So the key is on Airbnb, be the cream so your listing rises to the top. Be the cream of all the listings out there, which rises to the top. And that comes down to, I think, speed to lead is one of the most underrated deals. When someone messages, when someone calls, get right back immediately. And there's this whole thing of don't be an order taker, be an order hunter. So the example is
Mhm.
someone messages in and says, hey, does this house come with a golf cart? You could say yes, no, depending on the house. That's an order taker that answered the question. An order hunter is yes, it does. And this also is really cool about the house. Or no, I'm sorry, that one doesn't, but this one over here has this. Or this house really doesn't need it because it's right on the beach. So it's having this mindset of go out and get the orders because if we have a great product, which we do, we want more people to experience it.
Yep. I talk to clients a lot about how their marketing and their website should be extensions of their level of customer service. Their customer service should definitely be an extension and a reflection of their customer service digitally to the same degree that it is in person. And that's a great example of that. Get
But
right
I
back
would
to
say it's
people.
underrated is a good website, a
Yep.
responsive, fast website that it's easy to book on, which is
Yeah.
why the direct is so good.
Yeah. Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad you've been happy on it so far. What do you think is maybe an overrated tool platform strategy that you've tried?
What's overrated is most tools that are out there.
Hot take. I
Um,
like that.
that's because I'll share this as I just said I'd be sharing 4 keys throughout the call. I'll jump to key number 2, which is I learned this from I was the master of ceremonies at a local business conference, and the guy on stage, he's one of the founders of Booking.com and Priceline, billionaire, and he was trying to set up his PowerPoint, and the tech guy worked for 30 minutes to get it so the clicker worked. Wouldn't happen. Didn't happen. So
Mhm.
the tech guy said, look, I got to stay in the back room. I'll watch you and then I'll go through your slides. And I had to be the one to bring this to Jeff. So I brought this to the speaker and I said, hey, sorry, they work. It's going to have to click from the back room and just watch you. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, that won't work. So he goes in, they start looking for more solutions. And the solution was to put the laptop right in the doorway. So it was just close enough for the clicker to work, but close enough they could plug it into the monitor.
Yeah,
And then later on, he publicly praised that tech. So this is the key, which is you have your standards and you say, we have to hit these standards, but then you turn around and you praise and make a big deal when those standards are hit.
I
That's
like
good
that.
leadership.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
And kind of going back to the question you just asked before we detour to this billionaire story.
Yeah, no, this is juicy stuff. So if you've got a hot take, this is a
So
good
let's
place
jump
for it.
over to number 3. So this is, I talked about how one of the biggest challenges, the number one problem the entrepreneurs deal with is scattered focus, scattered effort. It's different ways. There's a concept which learned this growing up on the farm. It's called feed the animals. And here's what we would do. Every morning we'd go out, we'd feed the hogs, we'd feed the cattle, feed the chickens. And you do that every day. And in a year, that 400-pound calf was now 1,200 pounds and ready for
Mhm.
market. This 5-pound pig was now 250 pounds, ready for market in 6 months. So the idea is there are certain things in your business, certain activities to feed them every day or feed them every week. And I have this concept just called the 7-meeting rule. And the point is, look through your business and see what are the 7 animals, the 7 areas you should focus on. So I'll have a revenue meeting where I meet with my revenue manager. I'll dive into marketing. I'll dive into different things. Then you look at finances. You just have these certain meetings. Sometimes it's a meeting with yourself. Maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's 2 hours. But the idea is you're touching base on these different aspects of the business every single week or every 2 weeks, depending on the deal. And by doing that, you're feeding those key things so that in the end, you have a great business. Because what happens is you can go 6 weeks without talking to your revenue manager or without looking at pricing if you don't have a revenue manager. Or marketing, it just falls by the wayside. I use a tool called Rank Breeze where I can see exactly where all my listings are on Airbnb. So if something's fallen down, I can make the tweaks to get it bumped back up. But that's that key number
Excellent.
3 is think of the key activities, the animals that you need to go feed every single week. Maybe it's daily.
Yeah, have your rocks, have your routine of the things that are going to keep your business moving forward. I like that. I like that a lot. I want to quickly to make sure I know we'll jump to Q&A in a minute or so. We did have one question that I think is pretty pertinent in terms of tools and strategies. The idea that, a lot of tools can be overrated if you're not using them or holding to your standards. Are you at Destin Dreamers currently using dynamic pricing? And if so, which one is your dynamic pricing tool of choice?
Yes, we use dynamic pricing, and I think I've gone with all the three top companies.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you which one in a second, but you go back, this is the ideal pricing model, is you have a local revenue manager who understand, and this could be, the owner, the company, depending on how big you are, who understands houses, knowing that these two houses are exact same size and they're maybe within a block of each other, but this one's a little bit nicer than this other one, so you can adapt accordingly. So you have a local person who knows it, and then I think you should be tied into a pricing software, dynamic pricing software. Uh, we use Beyond Pricing right now. And then the third aspect is you just have to watch the market. And this is not a set and forget. I don't care what pricing software you use. You cannot just set it and forget it. You have to be looking at that every week or two. We do it weekly, but it's just looking to see where the market's at. And we love the Beyond Pricing aspect. They have some AI tools so we can quickly do summaries and so forth. But the three main companies, Wheelhouse, Price Labs, Beyond Pricing, they're all getting better and better. I mean, this month, Price Labs may be a step up. Next month, it's Wheelhouse. Next month, it's Beyond Pricing. There's some nuances, but the cool thing is they're all seeking to get really good. Now, I know that many PMS systems, whether it's Streamline, Guesty, all those, they have their own pricing tools. My philosophy is you go get the tools that are really good at what they're doing. So that's why we'll use a specific pricing tool. We'll use Breezeway since they're good at, just the cleaners, the maintenance, all that. But that's my philosophy is you go get the best, or some of the best ones are focused really good at those areas, and then you bolt them onto your property management software.
Yeah. And continue to use your own local expertise and understanding of the
Absolutely.
market to maximize the impact, not rely on them to get what they can get on their own.
Because what happens is people will go switch to another software. And I would say before you do that, one, make sure you're using all of the features of your current software. And then number two, make sure you're watching the pricing. Because it could be that the reason you're having price issues is because that you're not in there looking at it, adjusting it weekly.
Yep. I know a couple people who've gotten caught in that trap and learned an important lesson. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation so far. We've got a few more minutes. I don't see any other questions from the attendees here in the chat, so I'm going to slide a couple in, but if anyone has anything, please do put it in the chat and we'll make sure that we ask Arlen. Also, at the beginning, we did put contact information again for Arlen and I in the chat at the very beginning. So if you have questions for either of us, Arlen has graciously said you're welcome to shoot him an email and ask. So if there's somebody you either ask in private, please do so. While I've got you for a couple minutes, I am curious, this is a RealTech client webinar, RealTech client community here. You've been a client of ours for a good long time now and been a good one. And I would, say you've done a good job of making the most of being a client. You use the resources available to you, you utilize support. How can you speak a little bit about how you as a RealTech client get the most out of your partnership with us? Maybe there's some good tips for newer clients in the audience.
Yeah, a few things. One is there's a few things I love about RealTech. One, I like you're not owned by the big companies like Inhabit, etc.
Nope.
That's so I love that. You're responsive with support, and you're able to fix stuff without nickel and diming us. But what I really like is you're open to ideas and you push things. And I can push things, roll it out. When we talked about this direct booking deal, I had a couple hesitancies because it wasn't as customizable as what I wanted to be. But I pushed, and within a month, you rolled out some of the stuff I was looking for, and you have more stuff rolling out here in 6 months. That's critical. Mm-hmm. So the advice would be to everyone how to maximize is it's too easy to complain about what feature a software or a website developing company doesn't have. Suggest it again. And this happens at all software companies where you may ask if there's a feature, and sometimes the initial people will say no. And what I will push back on is say, hey, can you double check with the superior? And 30% of the time, it actually does have that feature. They just didn't know about it, because when I'm asking some of these questions, they're very technical, in-depth questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll run speed tests on my website. And if it's getting a little bit slow, I'll say, hey, let Derek know what's going on here. And you guys are very fast to jump in there and take care of issues.
Yeah, I love that advice, Arlen, because I think it is probably lesser known than it should be, and I'd love for it to be, that we do want people's feedback. The pointing out a gap in something or pointing out an opportunity is not something that we see as nagging or pestering us. We charge a premium to give up premium service and a premium product, and we want to make that product a fit for you, the professional property manager. So I will just put this out there for everyone who's watching today and maybe watches in the future. We have a pipeline for future requests. If someone comes to a client manager, a client success manager, a support person and said, I wish my site did this, or I saw this website that did this, is this something you can do? Even if we don't currently do it and aren't currently able to provide the resources to go and build it, we do log those requests and we evaluate them as part of our roadmap. So if you have a need, make it known.
And
So I
that's
appreciate
excellent, because we can
opening that door.
all get better together doing that.
Exactly.
True.
Absolutely.
You got time to talk AI for a second?
Yeah, we got a few minutes and I can go over a couple minutes. By all means, what you got, Arlen?
So I think the wave of the future is to be high tech, high touch.
Yeah,
And there was a huge movement to have AI respond to every guest communication. And I have a simple test with a company that's trying to sell me an AI chat automatic response. Do they use it themselves for support? And
Yeah.
90%, I haven't looked recently, but 6 months ago, 90% of those trying to sell me AI was not using AI with their own customers. So I'm not going to trust it with my
Says a
customers.
lot. Yeah.
And I go back to, what's the first principle? The first principle is those companies that are going to dominate over the next few years are going to be high tech, high touch. So when a guest messages in needing a Wi-Fi password, I want AI to see that and to shoot that out. But when there needs to be a nuanced human response, I want them to be able to call, I want them to be able to message, and they get an actual human response. And the idea is, you want a competitive advantage right now? Return to real. Return to real. Get back to real touch points, real conversations, and buffer that with some good AI. That's one deal. And then there's so many AI tools out there, and people, the problem with AI is AI amplifies your current weaknesses. Like right now, if you're having scattered effort, scattered focus, AI is going to make that even worse, because there's all these shiny objects to go after. So that's one of the things where I'll coach entrepreneurs. You guys can reach out to me too, but you fix that scattered effort, you fix that avoidance issue. Now AI can really expand what you're capable of. But until you fix that personally, it's just going to, it can distract you even more.
Those are really good takes. Certainly in line with the way that, I, as an expert in the industry on certain components like the marketing and the site experience, would agree with, but also I think the ones that RealTech, in terms of the AI tools we're building, are trying to support that idea of, AI should make you better at doing your job, not do it for you. And so I like both those takes and would encourage everyone to kind of heed that advice.
And you just said something really good there. You want it to make it better. It makes you better at doing your current job. And notice, I'm co-founder of StayAllied.ai. And what that does is we bring the power of AI to give people an unfair advantage in their business intelligence. So people can go in and ask different questions. And what's happened is it gives them a 1, 2, 3, or 4-year advantage on business intelligence, so you can compete against these big boys out there.
That's a great tool to have. That is a good way to kind of forecast against the industry and understand where you really stack in terms of capability. So yeah, if anyone here has interest in that, please do reach out to Arlen. We put that in the chat a little bit earlier. I'm sure Amber can throw it in there one more time. We are right at time, and I don't want to take more of your time than you have to give today. You've been so generous with it. I would ask before we go, though, you promised us a fourth takeaway. What's your fourth takeaway, Arlen?
The magic, the breakthrough, the thing you're looking for is on the other side of what you are avoiding. You are one conversation away. You are one hour planning strategy away. You're one task away from this magic you are looking for. So we spend so much time doing everything but the thing. So what is the thing that you're avoiding? Go do that thing. There's about 7 different strategies to work through that. But on the other side is the magic, is the benefit you're looking for. And email me. I'd be glad to help you with that too.
That's a great way to close us out here. Well, Arlen, I so appreciate your time today. I encourage anyone with questions, do reach out to us, reach out to Arlen, reach out to myself. And otherwise, have a great rest of your weeks. I look forward to seeing you soon, and we'll have a recording of this in everybody's inbox by tomorrow. Thanks again,
Hey, thank
Arlen.
you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Will do.